So, how do we actually capture and hold on to student attention when they're basically swimming in a sea of endless digital distractions? I mean, it's pretty much the ultimate question for any modern educator, right? You spend hours, literally hours, crafting the perfect lesson plan. But then you look at your analytics and, well, you're faced with plummeting watch times and huge student drop off. And let's be real for a second, we're usually competing for focus against a learner who's watching on a tiny mobile device, constantly tempted by the very next notification. Overcoming that distraction isn't just about speaking louder or throwing brighter colors on the screen. It's about speaking the visual language your students are already totally fluent in.
Because get this, the scale of the opportunity right in front of us is absolutely massive. Educational content consumption on YouTube has skyrocketed by an incredible 156% since 2023. More students than ever before are actively searching for help, for everything from test prep to basic skill building. The audience is definitely there, and they're hungry for knowledge. But if your content isn't visually designed to actually hold their attention, you're going to remain completely invisible to the exact students you are trying so hard to reach. Okay, so let's dive right into this. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely transform the way you teach on camera, launching into a structured masterclass on the cinematic classroom. We're going to explore exactly how to merge high-level cinematic techniques with your fundamental educational goals. We are taking the art of filmmaking and applying it directly to visual storytelling and education. We want to ensure your students don't just watch passively, but actually truly learn. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The Educational Video Challenge. 2. Framing the learning environment. 3. Angles for practical demonstrations. 4. Highlighting key learning moments. 5. Lighting and audio atmosphere. And finally, 6. Optimizing for student discovery. Let's jump in. Section 1. The Educational Video Challenge, Grabbing the Mobile Viewer. When a student is watching your lesson on a tiny 6-inch screen, competing for their focus requires so much more than just delivering good, accurate information. It requires highly intentional visual design. You really have to craft an experience that visually pulls them in and just refuses to let go. And here's why this matters so much right now. YouTube's algorithm has evolved. It actually evaluates things like factual accuracy, educational credibility, and, this is crucial, viewer retention. The system is literally measuring whether students complete their learning goals when they watch your content. Look, student drop-off at the end of a concept, that's fine if they've learned it. But if they're clicking away right in the middle of your complex explanation, your material gets buried. So to hold that attention, your lessons must have a clear, captivating visual structure. Moving on to Section 2, Framing the Learning Environment, Making it Organic. So we really want to move away from that rigid, sterile studio look. Especially for younger learners, the space needs to feel comfortable, inviting and real. If it feels like a cold laboratory, well, you've already lost the emotional connection. To make your space feel organic, we use this awesome cinematic trick called the dirty frame. Basically, a dirty frame is just shooting through a foreground object. It could be the leaves of an indoor plant, maybe the edge of your computer monitor, or even a bookshelf. What it does is create depth. It adds texture. It grounds the student in your space, adding real character and a sense of realism without actually causing a distraction. It makes the student feel like they are sitting right there in the room with you, which is incredibly comforting for a young learner. And this brilliantly illustrates the power of intentional camera movement. Let's contrast two styles. On one hand, you have the static wide shot. Now, a wide establishing shot is fantastic for resetting attention. When you move to a new topic or a new location, a wide shot basically tells the viewer, hey, we're in a new spot, take in the environment. But on the other hand, we have the dynamic push-in. This is where you physically move the camera closer or you use a really smooth digital zoom in post-production. A slow push-in forcefully directs a distracted mobile viewer's eye. It visually communicates that you're leaning in because what you are about to say is absolutely vital. All right, Section 3, Angles for Practical Demonstrations, the Tactile View. Whenever you're teaching fine motor skills or any hands-on activities, the camera needs to stop being a passive observer. It needs to start acting as the student's own eyes. Take a look at these steps for a classic Montessori practical life exercise, which is rolling a working mat. It requires really specific coordinated movements. Sitting on the haunches, inserting fingers 1/3 from the edge, placing thumbs on top, and rolling. Now, if you film this with a standard wide shot from way across the room, a mobile viewer isn't going to see a thing. But if you pair this demonstration with a top-down angle, giving this objective, sort of bird's-eye view of the setup, or a POV, a point of view shot, it changes everything. By mounting the camera near your chest or head, you give students that fly-on-the-wall, first-person perspective that is absolutely necessary for them to imitate and master those complex physical tasks.
That brings us to section 4, highlighting key learning moments, driving focus. Now, even with great tactile views, a really long, complex lesson can definitely start to drag. You have to actively re-energize the pacing to prevent students from just completely zoning out. You need tools that drive focus exactly where you want it. So a genuinely crucial tool here is utilizing extreme close-ups. Look at this visual detail from an educational manual. When you cut to an extreme close-up of a specific block of text, or a mathematical equation, or maybe the tip of a tool you're using, you are visually shouting to your audience, hey, pay attention to this detail right now. It creates this intense little micro-moment. For the easily distracted viewer who's, say, watching on a phone while riding the bus, this sudden shift in scale completely forces them to re-engage with the material. Section 5, lighting and audio atmosphere, sensory calm.
You know, visuals aren't just about where you point the camera, they are very much about what surrounds the lens. These are the invisible environmental factors that can either induce anxiety or hopefully promote a state of sensory calm. And sensory calm is the absolute optimal state for absorbing new information. So let's quickly break down the industry standard here, the 3-point lighting setup. It's super simple but profoundly effective. First up, your key light is positioned on one side of the camera. That's your primary source that sets the overall tone and visibility. Second, your fill light sits on the exact opposite side. It's a bit softer and it's just meant to fill in the harsh shadows created by that key light. Finally, the backlight is placed behind you. That adds depth and separates you from the background so you don't look like a flat cardboard cutout. Mastering this really simple setup ensures your lessons always have a natural, professional, and super inviting look.
And honestly, we can't talk about a calming atmosphere without mentioning your audio and the quality of your light. As the popular creator ASMR Glow notes, creating this kind of content is really about intimacy. When you use soft, diffused lighting, maybe by wrapping your lights with a softbox or just sitting near a window on a nice overcast day, and you combine that with deliberate, quiet, crystal clear audio, you're serving the human connection. You actually help reduce the student's heart rate. You create this deeply reassuring environment where a student feels safe enough to just focus and learn. Finally, section 6, optimizing for student discovery YouTube SEO. Okay, so you filmed this beautiful, cinematic, perfectly lit lesson. Awesome. But actually, none of that matters if the right students can't find it. Let's do a rapid-fire run-through of the essential SEO requirements you need to implement right away. First, put your exact target search keywords in the first 50 characters of your title. Keep it clear, no clickbait. Second, add descriptive chapters and timestamps so students can jump to exactly what they need to learn. Third, cite your sources and link out to supplementary worksheets. That proves your educational credibility. Fourth, explicitly display your educator credentials right there in the description. Fifth, and guys, this one is massive, structure your content into organized playlists. The data shows that educational channels using playlists see a 34% boost in watch time. That's huge. And finally, cut out 15 to 60-second vertical segments from your main lessons. Use those as quick concept previews on shorts to really drive discovery. Well, we've covered a ton of ground today in this explainer, from dirty frames and extreme close-ups to the perfect 3-point lighting setup and SEO playlists. So I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Knowing what you know now about the mobile viewer and how these algorithms actually work, how are you going to change the visual design of your very next lesson plan to ensure your students simply cannot look away? The cinematic classroom is totally yours to build. Get out there, press record, and make learning unforgettable.